Good morning. Today we will make Okonomiyaki, a Japanese, I suppose, savory pancake is often referred to, mainly consisting of cabbage, bonito flake, and some sort of protein. There are many things that might seem a bit alien, but I'll explain them as I go along.
Now here's what you'll need. You need 1 spring onion per person, some flour, cabbage, about 1.5 eggs per person, sauce, so tonkatsu sauce, mayonnaise, some seaweed. You'll probably see some unfamiliar things. Things on the bottom, the bonito flakes is the large packet, shaved bonito, but basically it's been dried up. Tenkatsu, which is the thing on the left, it's like an orange packet, basically fried scraps. You have pickled red ginger and you have stock packs. Cut up the vegetables as you see I am doing. Cabbage nice and thin. Something like that if you can get a gauge of it. Couple millimeters thick. Rough is all good. Pickled red ginger. You just want to cut this up into little bits. It's a bit juicy, so drain it. About 60 grams of just ginger that you squeezed out gently. It's not very strong in taste, but it does provide something nicer to the whole thing. Amongst the things that you can put into your okonomiyaki, mochi is one of them. You want to cut this into smaller pieces, although up to preference again. Now here's the thing. If you're going to make large batches of this, I only recommend you putting mochi in the one you're going to eat fresh, because reheating it is not exactly, doesn't give the best texture. For the next part, before we proceed in making the dashi, which is Japanese stock, it's made of dried up bonito. Bonito is a fish, and they dry it out. Basically, you would shave it into these tiny little, or very thin, paper thin strips. Now, this can be quite expensive to make stock out of. We're going to use it as a topping, which is pretty normal. Now, a cheap alternative is little packs. They're like little tea bags, but full of bonito stock, or bonito flakes. That is, more cheaper cuts. And you're going to need kombu, kelp. With these two, it makes really good, stock. And that's all you need. Now, there's also a secondary alternative, which is even cheaper. I couldn't get my hands on it, but it's stock powder. You can imagine all you need to do is open the packet and put what you need in. With this, there's going to be a bit of a small process, but bear with it. You want to fill a relatively small pot with about half a liter of water, give or take. Now, this is for 2 people, keep in mind, and the fact that the packaging on this says 500 cc, so for 1 packet anyway. It looks like this. It does smell fishy. Once it's a bit warm, just chuck it all in. If it's boiling, it's not gonna turn out quite so good. Now, the kombu here is supposed to be nice and dry. To my understanding, I'm pretty sure it's like the source of MSG, like naturally. MSG is naturally found, okay? Please understand. After about 10 minutes, it should start somewhat looking like that color. Once you're done, set this aside, let it cool so it doesn't screw up the next process. Okay, now to make the actual batter for it, you're gonna need several things, what you see here. For about 2 to 3 portions, it's almost about 1 egg per person, effectively. Beat your eggs. About a teaspoon of salt. Keep in mind, this stock is not salty, so you will need some salt for this. Add some flour in. Now, I don't have any measurements for this, but I'll show you what it should look like. Now, add some stocks until it becomes sort of like a slurry at some point. The cabbage in, it'll mix it all up. Alright, let's add the cabbage, see how it is. And also spring onion. We probably need a bit more. Okay, add your chopped ginger. Okay, now for the weird, interesting thing. This is tenkatsu, which is basically scraps. from when you make tempura, you would have to. Well, it's the stuff that floats to the surface and you don't really eat, but it's good for this. We're going to use this for the topping and for the filling too. 20 grams roughly for about 10 grams a person. It's like extra thick pancake batter, or sort of like a thick tomato sauce that you just pulled out of the fridge, that sort of consistency. And then you just mix cabbage and spring onion with it. Additionally, don't stir too much, otherwise the water is going to come out of the cabbage and make it too watery. So to avoid that, once you've mixed it, try and cook it on the pan within 10 minutes. Preheat it and put some oil on it so things don't stick. Now I'm just pre-cooking the pork so it's a little bit crispier before I put the mixture on. And I decided to put some mochi in between just to give it a go. To be honest with you, sometimes mochi can be a bit finicky. Put the mixture on, as you see. Now, on a side note, what I learned from here is, well, make it smaller. Don't fill up the whole pan. Like, you really want to be able to flip this pretty easily. The structural integrity, not always there. I have made bigger ones that fill the whole pan, thinking, oh, this is most efficient. Trust it. Just go smaller. I burnt it a little bit, you can see. And yeah, now I'm doing prawns. Prawns are pretty good, aren't they? These are already pre-cooked, so if they are cooked, just, I guess, don't overcook it. It'll be kind of a shame that if you do. And yeah, that's a nice flip. Now let it steam, it'll cook better. Now that came out a bit nicer than the previous one, didn't it? You have this. I did burn it, but it's not that bad. Honestly, I did better with the other one, but I want to show you something that you probably get more often. Going with pork strip. Up to you. You probably could mix it in, like if you cut up the pork, cook it first, then mix it in with the batter. That might work as well. Alright, I'm gonna cut it into quarters. You want to get your sauce. Now this is the Bulldog brand. I call it Bulldog sauce, but in Japan it's legit just sauce. Now you're supposed to cover it in so that, it looks better when you cover it, don't you reckon? Bonito flakes, my favorite. Follow it up with more of this. If you remember, this is the tempura scraps that you get from the oil that they scrape up. It's nice and crunchy. Now lastly, you want this, aonori. It's basically just really green seaweed. Okay, I'm gonna give it a bite. It tastes very umami and very salty. A little bit crispy on the top. There's the little things here. It's tiny from the sauce.
Wait, just finish your mouthful.